guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Karen breaks into my house, calls 911 when we return, claims we're intruders. I've been living with my wife in this big house for a few years now. The reason why we wanted a big house was that we wanted many kids. Unfortunately, I'm infertile, and until we decide to adopt, this big house is empty. We often had friends staying over, or some other people that needed a place to stay, but nothing more permanent. The house is very big. Besides the kitchen, bathroom, and other necessary rooms, there are 4 bedrooms. We both got tired of living alone, in this graveyard silence. Every day I wake up and I see this big empty house. I keep thinking of the kids we could have had, so we decided to rent out 1 bedroom. I posted about it on the neighborhood's Facebook and told a few neighbors, so they could spread the word around. After a few days, a woman showed up at our door. She was 23 years old, a beautiful person with an amazing smile. She told us that she desperately needs a place to stay because since the pandemic she had to work from home and her parents were very loud and they kept disturbing her. It's not that I believed her or not, but I didn't care, I was just glad we found someone. I emptied these drawers for you. Please don't take our food, but other than that you can use the kitchen like it is your own, I said while showing her the kitchen. What about the oven? She asked. Of course, you can use any of the appliances. Also, the first 2 fridge shelves are yours, I said. I showed her everything around the house, and I let her choose her bedroom. She chose the biggest one, the one with the best light and the nicest bathroom, but I would have done the same. I have to take many videos, and I have a lot of video calls, so I need good light, she said. I'm glad that this room fits your needs, I replied smiling. I left the room and I let her install herself in her new room. I went into the kitchen because I was really hungry, and I made my wife and me 2 chicken sandwiches and a cup of coffee for each. She had something to do upstairs, so I decided to prepare everything. As I was looking for something to watch while eating, she came and took a sandwich from the plate. What are you doing? I asked, looking at her angrily. I assumed that this was from me. I mean, I just got here, and I don't have any ingredients. Plus, who eats 2 sandwiches? She said smiling. That sandwich was for my wife, as is this coffee, so don't take this one too, I replied. Can you make me a coffee then? I'll be in my room, she said and left, eating my sandwich. I tried to stay calm and understand her. I mean, she was hungry, and she had nothing to eat, it's not that big of a deal. I made another sandwich for my wife, and we found something to watch, enjoying our food and coffee. Suddenly, we hear running down the stairs, and then I see her coming toward me. Where is my coffee? She asks angrily. What? I ask laughing. My coffee, you said that you'll bring me coffee, she said. I never said that. You can make yourself a coffee, I'll show you how to use the coffee machine now, if you excuse me, I'm watching something with my wife, I said, shocked by what just happened. She just ran back upstairs and didn't say another word. When night came, we went into our bedroom and went straight to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night because I could hear loud music. My wife was still sleeping. I guess these are the advantages of being a heavy sleeper. I got out of my bed and went into the hallway. The loud music was coming from her room. I decided to knock on the door and make this stop. What's wrong? She asked, opening the door after I knocked 5 times. The music, it's too loud, I said. I'm allowed to do whatever I want, it's my room, she shouted at me. It's my house, Karen, I said, almost screaming at her. Turn the music off, I added and left. She turned off the music and I happily went back to sleep. The next morning, I go downstairs, and I see her eating some of the pizza that my wife made the day before. I try to ignore her, but when I look better, I see that she's drinking from my cup. What are you doing? That's my cup, I shouted. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to bring any cup with me, and I wanted to drink some coffee, she replied smiling. First of all, I told you that you're not allowed to eat our food, and you're eating our pizza. I said, almost shouting. My wife heard my shouting and screaming, and she came downstairs, looking very worried. What happened? What's wrong? She asked. Karen is drinking from my cup, drinking our coffee, and eating our food, I said again. Dear, it's okay. I'll quickly bake another pizza for us and brew you some coffee in your favorite cup. "Forgive her this time," said my wife as calmly as possible. I didn't want to upset my wife, so I agreed with her and I didn't say anything else. Everything went well, until midday when a bunch of guys entered the house. They were dirty, didn't leave their shoes after entering the house, and they were loud and annoying. They all went into Karen's room and a party began. My wife and I are working from home, so it was impossible to work with the loud music and all the other noises that were coming from her room. I went and knocked a few times at the door until one of those men opened it. "What's the problem, old man?" he asked. "Can you please turn down the music? My wife and I are working, and we cannot do it in these conditions," I said calmly. "Unfortunately, no, we're having a party," he replied and closed the door. After all of those people left, I went back to Karen's room. I knocked a few times, and no one answered, and right when I was about to leave, she shouted, "Come in." I opened the door, and I was shocked. The walls were dirty and with holes in them, there was a broken chair on the floor, and it smelled horrible. She was laying on the bed with her laptop camera on. "I'm working, and I only took a break to talk to you." "What's the problem now?" she asked. "Karen, you cannot act like this. This is our house. You can't just do what you want. You cannot bring strangers into the house, always listen to music loudly, and you certainly cannot ruin the room," I replied. "Got it. Now, if you excuse me, I have work to do," she said. I left the room, confused and not knowing what to do. I told my wife everything, and she was just as upset as me, but she tried calming me down. A few months have passed since Karen has been living with us. A few months since nothing changed. The music is always loud, and strangers always come into our house, sometimes in the middle of the night. She only uses our things and never buys her food, but also, she hasn't paid her rent for 4 months. We tried to be good people and help her. We won't use that room anyway, and we wouldn't die of hunger if we shared our food with her, but her callousness is what's really the most annoying. After all of this, we finally decided to kick her out. "Karen, we have to talk," I told her while we were all at the table, drinking our morning coffee. "Tell me," she replied. "You have to leave. We are not able and willing to have you here anymore," I said. "What? Why? And where should I go?" she asked angrily. "We're sorry, but it's just too much," said my wife. "You're going to regret this," said Karen, and she ran into her room. A few minutes later, a police car stopped in front of our house. Karen ran outside and started screaming and shouting. "These two broke into my house. Please arrest them, officer, I'm scared," Karen shouted crying. The police officers entered the house and asked us to explain what was happening. We explained everything and showed them proof that the house was actually ours. The police officers didn't need much more explanation. They asked Karen to leave the house as soon as possible. After the police left, Karen took all of her things and left, and we were finally free of her. We then started cleaning and repairing the room. Everything was broken and dirty. The whole cleaning and repairing process took a few days, but we were finally done. It was Sunday evening, my wife and I were watching a movie in the living room, when we heard a loud noise. A car drove right into our living room, almost killing us both. I quickly called the police and then ran to see the driver. It was Karen. "I told you that you're going to regret it," she said, barely being able to talk. "You're drunk, Karen," I said, shouting, "What's wrong with you?" I then added. The police showed up in the shortest time and arrested Karen immediately. She was arrested because she was driving drunk and without a license, also for damaging our house and putting our lives in danger. After she was arrested, that's when we were finally safe. The next story is titled, "No, that is not a company spot, that is my spot." When I started at my new company, we had used all assigned parking spots in the adjacent parking garage, and I was given a spot in a building a couple of blocks away. When I got in early one morning and had to be let in by security as the building was not yet unlocked, I talked with the security guard briefly, and this started a bit of a friendship. After a week or so he asked why I always came through the front door, instead of through the parking garage, and I explained my situation. He ended up giving me one of the extra spots that was assigned to the security staff. I was only allowed to park there Monday to Thursday as they needed the spot for cleaning crews on Friday. This spot is only about 20 feet from the pedestrian bridge to the building, so it is a pretty nice setup. We also have 2 company visitor spots in the same adjacent lot. However, they are on the top floor, along with the rest of the spots assigned to our company, exposed to the sun, and require walking down 3 flights to get to the pedestrian bridge. We have had a senior engineer visiting from a different office for the last 2 weeks, parking in the visitor spot. On Tuesday we went to our cars together, and he saw where I was parked. Well, when I got to work yesterday, he was already in my parking spot. I headed up to one of the visitor spots, and let him know that he needed to move his vehicle out of my spot, or his car might be towed. We are right downtown and have many people who park in this garage without permission. He told me that it was fine, don't worry about it, it was a company parking spot, and that could just stay in the visitor spot. I told him that I really did not think that was a good idea, and tried to explain, but he brushed me off. I followed up with an email letting him know that the spot was not leased by our company, but that I just had permission to park there until a spot opened in the garage. I parked in my assigned spot in the other parking garage. Boss man does not like non-visitors parking in the visitor's spot, so I was not about to stay there, and didn't worry about it, just like I was told. Well, come lunchtime, senior engineer comes storming back into the office. Apparently, security guard saw that the vehicle parked in my spot was not my shitty Civic, but rather a Tesla, and decided to have the vehicle towed. Not exactly sure what came of this, and I bet I will find out later today, but I am happy that I sent the CYA email as senior engineer outranks me by a considerable margin, and I do not need someone thinking that I left him high and dry out of spite. I should note that while we have spots assigned to our company, each vehicle gets assigned its own spot. Occasionally we will have people park in our assigned spots, and security will call our office to confirm if this is someone we are allowing to park there, or if this is someone parking improperly. So, if it had been a company spot, senior engineer's assumption would have been correct. We got no such call, and security guard does not have my personal number. Update. Not the satisfying update I was hoping for at all. Apparently senior engineer called and complained to building management. He explained the situation, and it turns out that security did not have the authority to allow me to park in this spot. Sounds like security guard got chewed out, and I am really hoping this did not impact his job. I lost my parking in the close garage. Boss man is not upset with me, which is the only good thing about this. Senior engineer was bitching to anyone who would listen. He is such a victim. No idea who had to pay tow fees, but I am pretty confident that senior engineer did not. Update 2. I was able to speak with security guard on my way to lunch today. Apparently, his boss did not chew him out, and I guess that was passed on to senior douchebag to appease him. Yes, security guard was told that he could not give out the spot, but that was it. He was quite surprised when I told him what I had heard. The next story is titled, "You Cannot Wait by the Bus Stop. You Have to Wait Across from It." Okay, you got it, boss. I used to work at a childcare center for almost 5 years, and we'd sometimes have school-aged children where we'd have to take them to the bus stop in the morning and then pick them up from the bus stop in the afternoon. Now during the time of the incident, we only had to take one child from the bus stop who we will call T. I was assigned bus duty by my boss as I was always on top of it and made sure to quickly go to the bus stop to get T, and another teacher would take T to the bus stop in the mornings. We were told by the boss that the bus stop was right across the street from our center, which was between a house and a church. We'd wait by the tree which was by the church parking lot as that was the bus stop, so we'd wait there. Well, boss didn't want us doing that anymore and said that we weren't supposed to wait there and wanted us to wait our center's parking lot by the curb. Not only that, but my boss would not let any of the teachers leave to take T to the bus stop in the mornings as it was too early, despite us having to leave at 8:15 since the bus would arrive at 8:20. So we also had to take T at 8:20. Cue malicious compliance. We start waiting for the bus by our parking lot like my boss requested, but after a couple weeks or so it's been met with complaints such as T refusing to let us hold her hand to cross the street to get to the school bus, the bus arriving early, causing T to miss the bus, and another teacher had to drive her to school, which angered T's mother, and T crossing the street by herself to get to the center whenever the bus arrived early in the afternoon. My boss was constantly getting angry with us as to why we aren't paying attention to the time or being quick with getting T, but I said, "You told us to wait by the curb and that we can't arrive early. We have also told you many times how T was trying to cross the street by herself and that several people in the neighborhood told T's mom about it. She has also missed the bus twice in a row." Boss realized her mistake and took back the bus stop rule and said that we were allowed to wait at the bus stop and to make sure we arrive 5 minutes early and not a minute later. The last story is titled, "Don't Like Where I Park My Motorcycle? Fine, I'll park it in a parking space. I live in an apartment building with nowhere near enough parking spaces for everybody. There are maybe 100 units total but only about 10 parking spaces. Although it is stated in my contract that I am allowed to park within the building, I would park it in a corner in the parking lot somewhere since motorcycles are small and don't require much space. I thought I'd be nice. But about a month after I moved in, I received a notice that people were filing complaints against my motorcycle, as they were having trouble parking their cars because of where it was. So, I stopped parking it in that corner. And not more than a week later, I received another notice. Same complaint, but different corner. It was no biggie, so I parked it somewhere else, and got another notice. So, I started parking it somewhere that would never get in another car's way. In one of the 10 parking spaces available to 100 units. Thank you for listening.